Welcome for another PBB conversation. We're on the campus at UNC Chapel Hill, and we'll be speaking with Hallie about her varied experiences attending HBCUs versus PWIs, and just getting a chance to chat with her about her perspective, some of the things that she experienced as she went to the respective universities. So we'll jump right in. So, Hallie, it's always great to see you.
You too.
Of course, of course. So let's jump right in. You want to tell the world a little bit about your experience being here on the campus of UNC Chapel Hill, as well as the other schools that you attended?
Yes, I will start with home. My name is Hallie Allen. I am a graduate of North Carolina A&T State University. I studied criminal justice and I graduated in 2018. Okay. And then I immediately started graduate school the following semester, and I studied public administration, and I am an MPA graduate of UNC Chapel Hill, and I graduated in May of 2020.
Awesome, cool. Well, let's start at the beginning. Let's kind of talk through the experience of why North Carolina A&T.
Why not? Okay, so A&T, well, as a kid, I think subconsciously there was always an attraction, of course, because of drumline. You know, I had some HBCU graduates in my family, and there's always a connection as far as being a Black student in these universities. But when I visited A&T specifically, my sophomore year of high school, for a field trip, actually, I immediately felt connected to the university. I was attracted to the way the students seemed to feel about the environment, about their willingness to share, the excitement of them just wanting to share a part of their world with you, like sharing a piece of their happiness or their joy with you. And that's something that stood out to me. And so immediately going home, I knew that this school was going to be on my list. And from that point on, it was a strong contender. And I convinced my mom that that's where I needed to be. And so she went with it, and she supported me through it, and I graduated. So
okay, that's what's up. So kind of jumping forward a little bit, what made you want to go to UNC Chapel Hill for your master's?
So that decision was a bit different because it wasn't the same feeling of people who look like you having this unique experience that stands out to you. This was far more individual, I would say. I think the first feeling of undergrad was definitely a lot of like the community aspect of wanting to be a part of a certain environment. When it came to my graduate school decision, first and foremost, going to a PWI, I knew that there was a power and an information dynamic in a uniquely different institutional environment, and I felt to unlock the gateways that I desired to for Black people that I needed more in the sense of diversifying my education. And you know, sometimes it's going to look like the not so glamorous aspects as far as like racism and identity. I kind of, to an extent, knew that it was going to be different. However, I know I wanted more. I wanted to challenge the dynamic of why don't you want us in these spaces, or you know, what's really there? What are the resources that lie here that attempt to make HBCUs seem inadequate? And if I could also graduate here and excel through this program, then there's nothing that you can tell me about how to navigate the country that we live in. So yes, that's how I landed here. Yeah,
you always hear a lot of the talk about, PWIs, they have those big names, the accolades. From your experience being at UNC Chapel Hill, what was one of the positive experiences that you had being here?
One of the most positive experiences, I would say, my depth and exposure to my field. So again, I studied criminal justice, always had a strong interest in criminal justice as it related to how we're impacted by the system and clear changes that need to be made. But then studying public administration, understanding more of how government works in general, how our systems work in this country. And one of the most powerful things I think I got from this experience was the fact that the name Chapel Hill, the connections to Chapel Hill, my internships and things, you're in different rooms with different people. Not to say that A&T that I couldn't have gained this type of experience, but it's just, it was totally different. I met the Attorney General of North Carolina, the Chief Justice of North Carolina. So just being in the same spaces as some of these stakeholders, being able to exchange with them, understand more of their roles and their jobs, it was a powerful experience.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I heard you mention some of the challenges, like racism. There's been quite a lot of things going on over the past few years. Can you kind of talk through one of those challenges that you had being at Chapel Hill?
Yes.
I'm sure being at a big university, it's a different environment from A&T.
Definitely. So my very first day of grad school, the silence and protests were taking place. The destruction of the statue, students being arrested. Just in general, there was a feeling of, even here, like even in a space that I'm existing in, not that you ever feel like you're above the things that happen in our country, but I think always to be met with the circumstances that you see on the news, it was like a rude awakening, like the very first day of class. So immediately it kind of exposed me to the reality of this world that everybody deems real. Like this is a bit more similar to the, unfortunately, white American experience that we can't seem to shake, at least not yet, but we're getting there. So yeah, that was a challenge. My very first day of school was met with the same iterations of Confederate statues,
wow.
You know, racism, professors who just carried on like it was nothing, still talking about the syllabus, not really understanding the dynamic impact of your emotions in those spaces. So yeah, that was hard from day one.
Yeah, and I've heard the cultural differences can definitely play a part, kind of going through that experience. And while you were at A&T, I'm sure there was plenty of things that happened.
Yeah.
How does that differ from the experience you had at A&T?
So of course at A&T, there were our moments in history or just social conversations about just sadness, outrage. I think the environment of support or emotional awareness or intelligence is existent in a community that's built and designed to support you, that's built and designed to represent you specifically and to empower you with resources and people who will help you navigate and brainstorm and collaborate for your ways of figuring out justice for yourself or figuring out empowerment for yourself. Whereas here, it's very individual. There was only myself and another Black student that was part of our cohort. So immediately, it's like if I'm not looking to you having a conversation, or we're not giving each other like the look or the nod of, girl, we're gonna figure this out together. It's just different as far as how we're able to have these conversations of support, and just your time and the competition of you navigating your own resources in grad school is different. I'm paying rent, I'm working. I no longer have the same support as far as financial support because my mom made her commitment as far as my undergraduate experience. So even having to step so deeply into my graduate school experience, take on that as a woman, and then also navigate my school experience, and then that be so much different, your support in general looks totally different. So here, when it came to the support as far as your identity, your emotions, your mental state, almost no one looks like you, or almost everyone looks differently than you do. So you don't even know where to go when you need that type of support. So your independence was heightened.
From a mental health standpoint, was it an additional challenge for you to be able to be at a campus where no one looked like you? You're one of two who looked like you in your classroom.
Yeah.
Was that extra pressure to perform, or what was that thought process for you?
If I knew what I know now about mental health, I would have navigated my whole graduate school journey differently, whether it had been therapy, just talking more about the challenges I was struggling with. I didn't realize I struggled with so many things until well after the experience was over. Oftentimes it felt like it's hard now, but I just got to get through the semester, or I just got to make it to work, or I just have to do something. There wasn't really moments for stillness to really process or analyze what it was I was going through. And so a lot of this I'm speaking about for the first time, because it was, you sweep everything under the rug and you keep going. And as Black people, oftentimes that's what we do to survive anyway. And that wasn't the healthiest way to go about it, but that's how I navigated it. So looking back, I think my anxiety was definitely heightened. Stress was definitely there. I never struggled academically when it came to performance. So as it related to my classroom success, or what I measured as having it right or getting the most out of my experience fulfillment wise, it was challenging. The answers that you're looking for, they don't sound the same as they would coming from me. The discussion boards we're having, the papers that we're writing, you even glancing through a white lens of what it is you're seeking for me to share, there's a disconnect there. So I felt like me being able to articulate from the perspective of my experience, it was misunderstood. And also navigating the right aspects of support for my mental health, I didn't know how to do it. Just being as transparent as possible.
Yeah.
No,
that's real. If you had to think about, kind of taking a step back, going back, putting yourself in those other students' shoes, what's some, maybe a couple tips, bit of advice that you might give a student that's thinking about making a decision on where they want to go to school, deciding between an HBCU, PWI, or is that process?
Yes. I will start with, if you are watching this and you are Black, HBCUs were designed for you. As far as being able to compare our institutions to another community, I've never seen anything else in my life like it. I won't say that it's the only realm of support that you're able to get, but being 18 years old, leaving home for the first time, needing support no matter how grown or adult that you think you are, you were able to get a second home. By no means at 18, 19 years old, we all have different experiences, and maybe you were challenged to be more independent sooner on, but your nurturing in that environment, I feel like, is comparable to none other. So I will start there and say that, but I think when it comes to making your decisions for what it is that you aspire to achieve academically, what it is you aspire to study, I feel like it's important to trust your inner guidance and make decisions based off of yourself. Yes, you'll consult with people, and yes, you'll have people pour into you from perspectives of their own, but your inner guidance is far stronger and far more heightened at 18 or whichever age you're looking into colleges are. So trust yourself, and if you have the means of support, whether it be through school, your family, your parents, to visit different universities and really sit and take a moment to process how it is you feel there, without the pamphlets, without the tours, without the shiny buildings, really sit with yourself to feel how it is you feel in your environment, and go with that choice.
Wow. Those are some gems. I mean, I don't want to mess it up. I mean, you really reeled it in and kind of talked through some really key areas. That was a PBB conversation. Hallie, thanks so much for sharing your experience, both at UNC Chapel Hill and A&T, and definitely look forward to future conversations with you.
Yes, thank you.
Take care.